सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदिभ्या निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम् बाहुद्वन्द्वेन रत्नोज्ज्वलवलय भृता शोणपाणिप्रवाळेनोपाता वेणुनाळी प्रसृतनखमयूखाङ्गुली सङ्गशारा कृत्वा वक्त्रारविन्दे सुमधुरविकसद् रागमुद्भाव्य मानैः शब्दब्रह्मामृतैः त्वं शिशिरितभुवनैः सिञ्च मे कर्णवीथि.
Gurupavanapure Hantabhagyam Jananam. Namaskaram to all the Astikas. While we did know the status of Indra, who had lost all his riches and was acquiring old age because of the Shapam given by Durvasa Maharishi, sought asylum in the very feet of Narayana, of course taking Shiva and Brahma to Ksheerabdi, and Bhagavan said, Ahi Mushikavat, using that particular understanding what a snake trapped in a net would have with that of a rat. You need to have a strategy with the Asuras and get the riches out. Then only you get ambrosia, which is nectar. Where will they get it from? Only by churning the ocean. For which what should we do? Keep the Mandara Parvatam, the very mountain, as the churning rod, and Vasuki, the snake, as the rope, and the Devas and Asuras churn. The Devas went to the side of the tail, the Asuras went to the side of the head, and they started churning. But they couldn't, like how they wanted to bring the mountain and couldn't, and finally Bhagavan, like a berry fruit, had to carry it and place it. Here they couldn't withstand. And thereby the Mandara Parvatam, because of the Guru Tara Bharam, because of that heaviness and that largeness, started sinking. They prayed to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, with a diamond-like hard back, appeared as the tortoise, Kurma, and in his back carried that mountain and brought that back so that it could be churned. Now what happened after that comes the shloka. Unmagne jhatiti tada dharadharendre nirmethurdridhamiha sammadena sarve avishyadvitaya ganepi sarparaje vaivashyam parishamayanna vibridhastan. Dharadharendre unmagne. When that particular Parvatam, Mandara Parvatam, came out of the oceanic waters, then Sarve iha jhatiti nirmethuhu. All those who were present, the Devas and Asuras, they started churning because they thought it is gone, because the mountain was gone into the waters. But when it started appearing out, they were very happy. Dridham sammadena, extremely happy. Dridham, they were very firm. Now they started churning. Tadatvam, then Bhaṭṭatiri looks at Krishna and says, then you, avishya dvitaya gane, then you entered both the sides. So one side the Devas were churning, one side the Asuras were churning. Bhagavan quietly got into that churning process of the Devas and Asuras on both sides. Sarparaje api Dvitayagane, Sarparaje api, in that to that particular king of among snakes, Vasuki, Parishamayan Vaivashyam. Why did you go there? To assuage their fatigue, because they were extremely tired. Because first they had to bring, they lost, then it got drowned, then they had to pray, then they had started churning. So they were extremely tired. Vaivashyam Parishamayan Avivridhahatan. As you stood on both sides and quietly along with them started churning, they could feel that they had the energy with them. So, Avivridhahatan Parishamayan Vaivashyam Sarparaje api. So, Bhagavan, while they were unable to carry the mountain, helped them carry the mountain. While they were unable to see the mountain anymore because it had drowned, he appeared as the Kurma tortoise and lifted it up. While they were extremely tired, Bhagavan entered both their sides, infused energy, stimulated them, and then he started churning along with them. So 3 steps he has done. Now there is also another step mentioned in Bhagavatam. At the top he stood at Ajita. He took an avatar of Ajita and helped it retain that particular balance from the top. Let's see what happens next. Uddhama Brahmana Java Unnamat Girindra Nyasta Ekasthiratara Hasta Pankajam Tvam Abhrante Vidhi Girishadayaha Pramodat Udbhranta Nunuvuru Patta Pushpa Varshaha Vidhi Girishadayaha. Vidhi, Brahma, Girisha, Shiva, Girishadayaha. Vidhi Girishadayaha, Brahma, Shiva and others positioned themselves Abhrante in the region of the clouds. Udbhrantaha Pramodat Nunuvuhu Tvam. Then what happened? You were overwhelmed. They were extremely overwhelmed because they all extolled you. They all praised you. That time, Uddhama, Brahmana, Java, Unnamat, Girindra, Nyasta Ekasthira Hasta Pankajam. You kept your lotus hand with that pressure on that particular mountain, that Ajitavataram, Girindra, Nyasta Ekasthiratara Hasta Pankajam. With that particular lotus-like hand, you were able to control it from the top, so that from the bottom you are the Kurma, and then it gets churned. So on both sides, Devas and Asuras, you were standing on either side, both sides to infuse energy. On both sides, Bhagavan was there. On the top, with his hand, he was pressurizing, and from the down, he holds the mountain with his back as a tortoise. So, Pankajam, Upatta Pushpa Varshaha. Brahma and Shiva and others who were witness to this, they were amazed looking at Bhagavan's involvement and blessings in this particular Samudra Manthana. And they showered flowers on Bhagavan in order to praise him. So this was an act of praise. Daityauge bhujaga mukha nilina tapte tenaiva tridasha kulepi kinchitarte karunya tavakila divya varivaha Pravarshan Amaraganan Daitya Sanghan. Hey Deva, the one who loves to play. Divukridayam Dhatu. The Dhatu, the root is Divukridayam, the one who loves to play. Hey Deva, Daityauge, with a multitude of asuras that you have. Tapte Sati, Bhujaga Mukha Nilina, oppressed with the poisonous breath of the serpent. Tridasha Kule Api Kinchit. Then the group of Devas, to an extent, Ade Sati Tena Eva, they were distressed by the same. That time, Tava Karunyat, because they were holding the serpent's first half of the body. So what happened with that first torso? A lot of fumes of poison were getting emanated. Bhujaga Mukha Nilina. So, if you want to see how this fumes look, I can give you one kshetram, which is called as Thirumeyyam. It's a Tamil name, Thirumeyyam. It is found near a town called as Pudukottai in the state of Tamil Nadu. So, wherever you are living, if you have time, please do visit the state of Tamil Nadu. In this place called Pudukottai, very close to it is a kshetram called Thirumeyyam. It's a very age-old kshetram. We have contributions of the Nayaka and the Vijayanagara kings. Earlier we had the contribution of the Pandya and the Chola kings. And before that, Pallavas too have contributed. So if you get into that kshetram, have a darshanam of Bhagavan called Satyamurti. On one side of the Garbhagriham, there will be a huge cave. And in that there will be a tableau. It's a stone sculpture. It's just there on the wall. It's a piece of art. There you will see that Madhu and Kaitabha, the two asuras, they approach to attack Bhumi Devi. Bhumi Devi seeks asylum in Bhagavan. Bhagavan with one hand tells Bhumi Devi, don't worry. And looking at Bhumi Devi getting petrified, Mahalakshmi in his chest gets petrified. So he tells Mahalakshmi, you too don't worry. So Sridevi, Bhudevi is given asylum. So when Madhu Kaitabha come and they want to hurt Bhumi Devi, that time Adishesha gets angry. So Adishesha opens his mouth. He opens his mouth and there will be Jwala that you can see, which will try to say how Adishesha gets angry when something goes wrong. Similarly, here in Adishesha's clan only Vasuki has come. So when she was being used, fumes were coming out. So he says, Bhujagamukha nilena Tridashakule apikinchit. Then the devas to some extent, arte sati tenaiva, they were distressed. Thereby, tava karunyatu kila, they prayed for your karuna, they prayed for your mercy. That time, hey Bhagavan, varivahaha pravarshan, varivahaha, which is rain-bearing clouds. Varivaha means clouds. Varivahaha pravarshan, then you started showing the precipitation in the form of rainfall. But again, Amaraganana, Daitya Samghana, na. Amaraganana, it all fell on the Devas because they sought asylum. The Asura said, why should we do Sharanagati? We are not interested. If he wants, let him do it. So this arrogance, this ego did not let them surrender, do prapatti. At that scenario, Bhaṭṭatiri says, Daitya Samghana na. So the Daityas couldn't feel the coolness of the rain that was coming because there were already fumes around. Whereas the Devas felt because they did Sharanagati. Next comes the Shloka. Udbhramyat bahutimi nakra chakravale tatrabdhau chiramathitepi nirvikare ekastvam karayuga krishta sarparajaha samrajan pavanapuresha pahi rogat. Tatra abdhau udbhramyat bahutimi nakra chakravale. There were various whales and crocodiles, nakra chakravale. They were just going around in the oceanic waters. There were confusion there. So nirvikare sati. But though they were undergoing some confusion, why this agitation? There was not a large change from its natural state. Nirvikare sati. Vikaram did not happen. That change did not happen. Why? Chiramati thepi. Despite. Bhaṭṭatiri says, despite something being churned. Imagine with the mountain being churned, what kind of changes it will undergo. But that didn't happen. Chiramati thepi api e tvam ekaha samrajan. You by yourself. Bhaṭṭatiri looks at Krishna of Guruvayur and says, you by yourself, you shined throughout this process of Samudra Manthanam. Karayuga Krishta Sarparajaha. Thereby you wanted something to come out of that Samudra Manthanam. Devas wanted some prosperity, Asuras wanted prosperity, both of the sides wanted Amritam. Understandable. You don't need Amritam, you don't need the riches. Then what were you aiming at? Why with your lotus-like hands you were engaged in the churning? He says, Karayuga Krishta Sarparajaha. Hey Pavanapurisha, there is something hidden in this. What did you want from that Samudra Manthanam? Was it some object or somebody? Who is that somebody? Why did you have to take that pain? Hey Pavanapurisha, the one who now resides in Guruvayur. Hey Krishna, Pahimam Rogat. For all that you have done for the Devas and Asuras, you brought that mountain, you gave the idea, you brought that mountain, you held it at Ajita at the top, you held as the tortoise from the bottom, you went on the sides of both Devas and Asuras, infused energy and helped churning. From the top, from the bottom, from the sides, from giving the idea, you do everything for the Devas and Asuras. But for this Bhaṭṭatiri, I'm suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. Why don't you come and get rid of that Pahimam Rogat? Protect me from that particular disease. That will be more than enough for me to understand what greatness is attached to this particular avatara. And I will surely tell, Bhaṭṭatiri says, I will surely say, whom were you aiming at in the next Dashakam?
कल्याणरूपाय कलौ जनानां कल्याणदात्रे करुणासुधाब्दे कंवादि दिव्यायुधसत्कराय वातालयाधीश नमो नमस्ते। नारायण 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 नारायण